So everyone's here.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's Matt Faircloth. Just wanted to thank you guys for being here. We're going to get started in about a minute. Just want to thank you guys for joining me. It's awesome to be here with you. Matter of fact, if you can't hear, if you can hear me, just one person shout out like, "Oh, I can hear you. I can hear you too, John." That's good. I'm not going to see the chat function during the webinar. I've got some folks from BP are going to keep an eye on that. We're going to do Q&A at the end. You're welcome. Hey, Matt. I'm in a vortex. I'm Matt, and there's another Matt. Cool. Really excited to have you guys here with me. We've got a big crowd. You know what? It's 3:00. Let's be prompt. I'm going to kick it off. Let me screen share, and we'll get going. So I just want to take a minute to thank you guys. This is an honor. If you guys don't know, this is my very first podcast with BP, and it's an honor to be here with you guys. And I don't take it lightly. I'm really excited that you guys are taking out some time to spend with me, and I'm really excited to be spending some time with you to talk about flipping houses with other people's money. So I just want to take a minute to acknowledge you guys for taking time out of your day to spend it here with me on this webinar. And there's many other things you could be doing, whether you're on the East Coast at 3:00 in the afternoon, or you're out on the West Coast where it's 11 or noon, whatever it is. whatever time it is where you are, there's many other things you could be doing besides taking some time to educate yourself and talking about flipping houses with me. So I acknowledge you for taking that time to educate yourself, to sharpen your saw, and get your education going. Talk about flipping houses and about BiggerPockets. So thank you for being here. Let's jump in, man. So this webinar is for you. This is a service it's an honor for me to be here, and it's an honor for BP to provide this to you guys. So I'm going to go through some slides and a conversation with you guys about flipping houses and about using other people's money. At the end, we're going to do Q&A. If you guys want to get into a brief chat conversation, you can. BiggerPockets is going to be running the back end of the chat feature. I'm not going to see the chats during the webinar. So if you want to get into a convo, or if you want to ask some questions that BP staff can answer, they're watching. They're here for you guys too. And that, just as BP is awesome, they've got staff here watching the webinar that are here to answer any questions you guys might have as we go. And then I will do my best. I'm not the techiest person, but I'll do my best to drop off of the PowerPoint presentation and do Q&A with you guys when we're done, for as long as you guys want to do it. Sound good? Sound good. All right. So let's hop in. So here's today's agenda. We're going to do a quick intro, a little bit about me, about Matt Faircloth. We're going to talk about flipping finance and things that you need to be aware of when you're doing fix and flips, and how finance plays into fix and flips. We're going to set you guys up for some success in working with your money partners, both hard money lenders and private money partners. We're going to talk about the difference between the two of those, and we're going to set you guys up for success in working with those people. And then we're going to talk about how BP can help you guys on your way in getting ramped up with your fix and flip game and working with other people's money. So here's me. That's me. For you guys that don't know what I look like, there's yours truly. So I am a active real estate investor. I raise a lot of private capital for flips and for apartment building purchases, and also me and my team manage the majority of the real estate in our portfolio ourselves. I've been full-time since 2005. Again, self-management. We manage most of our portfolio, although recently we've been buying larger buildings and hiring outsourced managers. And that's a whole nother conversation there. Our portfolio consists of everything from single families to mid-sized apartment complexes to some commercial buildings, including an office complex, and a good bit of retail as well. I'm an active fix and flipper. If you want to hear more about me, you can listen to podcast number 88 and number 203. And I will just give a shout out to my BP folks that are watching my back here. If it's at all possible for you guys to drop in links to those podcasts, so these kind folks watching can cut and paste those and listen to them later, that would be awesome. My wife, my backbone of my organization and of my personal life, my wife Liz, was on that podcast with me. She is at home with our 2-year-old, our 3-year-old, and our 2-week-old that we just had a couple of 2 weeks ago. Our little daughter Samantha. So she's taken some time off from BP, but she's back home with them and says hello to everybody. Of course, we live in New Jersey. Do a lot of work in New Jersey, of course, and also in Pennsylvania. So those are our 2 playgrounds for now. I also, just a little bit about me. I love to make wine. That's one of my personal hobbies. I've been doing that for years. And I also recently got into doing some triathlon. So a bit about me personally. About what qualifies me to talk to you guys today. I've done a couple of dozen fix and flips. I've done bank financing with flips. Doesn't work for everybody. Doesn't work for every flip, and definitely doesn't work for every bank for using fix and flips. And some folks are out there call themselves banks, but are actually hard money. And we'll talk about hard money in a bit here, about what hard money is. It's really just, they're actually hard money lenders and they call themselves banks. But I've worked with actual banks on flips as well. It doesn't work for every transaction. And of course, I've worked with private money lenders, and that's where some of you folks should get started if you haven't already doing flips. That's probably where some of you folks are going to start on fix and flips. So I've raised funds for apartment buildings, and I've also done equity transactions with investors where they own a part of the building with us too. So I've done the BRRRR thing too, the buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and repeat strategy. That strategy, that philosophy can be translated and applied to what we're going to talk about today in doing renovations, all you're doing really is refinancing as opposed to selling at the end. And your construction strategy, your level of finishes are going to be different on a rental than they are on a flip, of course. But you could translate some of that flip finance conversation to be around the BRRRR versus around flips. So, okay, let's keep going. Flip finance. So these are the factors I think that you guys need to consider when you're doing fix and flips. I call them the 3 keys to success. BP can help quite a bit on that. Number 1 is know your costs and your schedule. It sounds simple. These 3 sounds like some of you folks that have done a few flips or look at this and you're like, oh, no joke. But it's hard to remember them every time, and it's very easy to lose sight of just these 3 things. And I think that for you new flippers out there that maybe you're working on your first deal, if you just hang on to these 3 things, I think that you'll do pretty well. I mean, you also the things I don't talk about here are validating that a flip is going to sell for what you think it's going to sell for, and doing your market analysis and buying it right, but assuming that you've bought the flip at a good price and that your assessment of what it's going to sell for is correct. This is really about managing construction and managing money during construction. That's what this slide's about. But number 1 is knowing your cost flat and knowing your schedule. The biggest killer in flips are 2 things. Number 1, the unseen, and that's where number 3 comes in. Meaning, like, we rehabbed one property, and about halfway through, we found out that the whole house had been eaten alive by termites. Right, that like one whole wall of the property needed to be reframed with new wood because it was termite damage, like the entire first floor. I mean, it was just the house was literally falling apart, and we couldn't have known about it. Weren't allowed to do. It was like a bank finance or bank REO purchase, so we weren't aware of that, and we couldn't do termite testing before we bought the place. So it was an unknown that showed up. So an unknown and time will kill your deal. And what I mean by that is you're going to be paying, you're going to be paying someone for the money, whether that's a hard money lender, a private lender, or a bank for the money. And the longer your job takes, the more money you're going to have to pay them at the end. There was one job when I first got started where I paid my private money lender more than I made. And I've only had that happen one time, but don't let that happen to you. Don't let the job drag on to the point where your private money lender or whoever it is, their interest becomes so high that it kills the profit on your deal. And there's also other things that are time-based, like real estate taxes. People don't think about it, but utilities. The longer you hold the property, the longer you'll have to pay utility bills. And that. So just consider timeline on a project and project a timeline and make sure that you hold it to that. So BP has an awesome tool for those of you that have a pro membership that you guys can use for doing budget and timeline for your flips. Number 2, don't borrow the money before you need it. Use a draw schedule, meaning that if you've got a fix and flip that has a $70,000 construction draw schedule or a construction budget, if you can swing it, don't take all that money up front. Don't, because you're going to have to pay interest on it. And you want to negotiate a deal with your lender that they're not going to charge you interest, or at least a full interest payment on what's not in your pocket. So if they've got the money, you shouldn't have to pay for it. Or some lenders will charge a drastically reduced interest rate for money you don't have. You want to just regulate your deals that way. And so if you're paying on all the money up front, then that could really cause you a lot more interest payments over time if you don't trickle in the money and just draw it down as you need it. Some lenders require a walkthrough or require bringing in an inspector to come and do that inspection and validate that you've done the work, and then approve sending you your next construction allocation or construction draw. I've even had lenders for private lenders or folks that are just lending to me individually. I've had them accept a YouTube video. I just shoot them a video with my cell phone to show, yes, here, look, we did do the plumbing, we did do the electrical, and we're at the next milestone. Please do send us the money. And they've been willing to do that with a video. So you can do that too. Number 3, have a good contingency. I typically do anywhere between 10, 20%, depending on how well I know the property before I get in and the size of renovation I'm going to do. This might sound funny, but the larger the bill for the renovation is, the smaller the contingency is. So if I'm completely tearing apart a house from soup to nuts and ripping it all the way down to the studs, for those of you that watched my Facebook Live video that I shot yesterday, that was a 4-unit building that we tore all the way down to the studs. So there was very little contingency in that job because there's no stone unturned. We're already completely gutting the property. But if you're going to do a smaller job that you're going to do like just a cleanup job, I would actually have a higher contingency because there's a lot of things you aren't going to deal with. Maybe if you're not going to mess with the electrical, you're not going to do the plumbing, you're not going to upgrade different things, have some contingency in there for things that you didn't think you'd have to touch, but maybe you're going to have to go back and mess with or something like that. So sounds counterintuitive, but again, on larger budget jobs or larger construction projects that have a lot more that you have to deal with, I would err towards 10%. And for jobs that are smaller that you think you're just going to have to go in there and clean it up, I'd err towards 20% or even more on a contingency. And contingency, for those of you folks that need the layman terms of that, it's just in case money. So if your budget is $10,000 for renovation, then you want to have a $2,000 contingency or more of just in case money in your allowance and in your budget. So sound good? Sound good. Okay. So that's flip finance. Now, I alluded to this before. These two terms get mixed up when people start talking about money and bringing in money partners into their deals. But I want to make sure that we're clear on the difference between the two of them, because I'm going to start talking about money partners and understand that these two fall under the umbrella that I will talk about today of money partners. But there is a difference between private money and hard money. Okay. So private money is what you should seek if you're just getting started. So if private money is an individual, it's probably somebody out of your own network, maybe even a relative or a friend or somebody you know, that you just negotiate a deal with. And you say, okay, listen, I can pay 8% in interest on this deal. And they say, great, I'd like to see 9 because that's what I want to see in a rate of return for my money. And you can negotiate the deal. You can negotiate perhaps not making payments at all on the loan until the project's over. That's a great way to do it because then it doesn't affect your cash flow. I try and negotiate that on all my deals where I don't make any interest payments until the deal's done. But a hard money lender is going to be very hard to get them to accept something like that. But a private money lender probably would. A great source of private money are folks that have retirement accounts, a IRA account. That's a 401k from a company they used to work for. Maybe they don't work there. They would need to not work there anymore. They convert that 401k to an IRA, and that IRA can then get rolled to a self-directed custodian, and then that IRA can become a loan to you. IRAs are great sources of private capital, of private money lending is a great way to use them. So if you find someone who used to work for a great company, that gave them some sort of a retirement plan and they no longer work there, so they can roll that money from a 401k into an IRA, that would be a great source of private money for you guys. And I like, for new investors just getting started, I like private money versus hard money because you can negotiate the terms, negotiate the rates. They can be a bit more flexible. And you don't have as much of a track record because there's a certain level of trust you may have with someone in your own personal network versus being able to go to them and say, hey, listen, I've been in business for 5 years and I've done all these flips and stuff like that, where a hard money lender or a bank may want to see all those things. But a private money lender is someone who trusts you because of, you're you. You're who you are, someone who's in their network they have a lot of trust with, not because of your real estate track record, but just because of who you are. Okay. So that's private money. And then there's hard money, and hard money is more of like a business, perhaps not an individual, but it's someone who loans money on business terms, typically non-negotiable. They charge something called points, which if you're borrowing, let's say you're borrowing $100,000, 1 point is 1% of that loan. So if they're charging a 4-point loan on $100,000, if the loan's $100,000 and they're charging 4 points, that's $4,000 you have to pay at closing when you borrow the money from them. Typically, private money lenders are not going to charge you points, and I would try and negotiate that out. If they tell you they want it, I would try and negotiate away from that. But hard money lenders are going to want They're a lot of points, and their rates are going to be typically higher than private money will be. I've used hard money. Hard money has its place in our world. Typically, hard money lenders have very, very deep pockets, meaning they can lend just as much as you're looking for. They can lend to you. The private money lender is only going to have but so much money. So I've used hard money as I've scaled up my business and done more and more fix and flips at a time. Hard money lenders have a place there, and hard money lenders can typically close in a couple of days if you're in a real pinch, or if you need to close a deal in a week or two. Hard money lenders can get to the table pretty quickly. So if you are in a quote unquote pinch to get a deal closed, a hard money lender can step in. BiggerPockets has an awesome database of hard money lenders across the country, which we'll talk about. But you guys, that's just one of the many, many reasons why BP is an awesome database, because they have a database of hard money lenders that you guys can go to. So let's move on to the next one. So setting you guys up for success for money partners. Now remember, a money partner is a private money lender, was private folks, or a hard money lender, and those two terms are going to become intermingled a bit as we move forward here. But they're both alternatives to banks and people that are able to close quickly and write you guys large checks for your fix and flips and fund the majority of, if not all of, your project, especially if it's a private money source that you could negotiate them funding the whole thing. And some hard money lenders will do it. We'll fund your whole project. Some of them won't. Some of them will. You have to look for those. But here's setting you guys up for success. Okay. So if you look on the left-hand side, we're going to talk about assembling your goals, your personal inventory, and your track record into a business plan, and then taking that business plan forward into your network to push out that business plan through, just to propagate it through a network to build yourself a deep network of lenders and partners that can help you guys get where you want to go. But before you go where you want to go, you got to figure out where you want to go, and that has to do with setting goals. And I get a lot of calls from folks that are just getting started. They're like, I want to go invest in real estate. Well, okay, let's talk about what your goals are. Well, where do you want to be in a year, in 3 years, and in 5 years? And for folks that have been around for a bit longer, like I have, sometimes it's easy to lose sight of those things. But in essence, you're not going to get where you want to go if you don't have written down and really clear where you want to go, right? It pays to visit those goals regularly. So I read mine every morning. I read my goals every day. And so what you want to do is write down your 1, your 3, and your 5-year goals. And not to get too far off on a tangent, but it pays to plan that out or set goals for everywhere in your life, but more specifically for today in your flip business. So how many flips do you guys want to have done by year 1, by year 3, by year 5? How many burrs, how many apartment complexes, how many units under management, all those things you want to have down in those year milestones, and be as specific as you can. In what market are they in? Of what size are they? The more specific you can get, the more you can filter out things that are actually going to be distractions from you achieving those goals. So just be as specific as you can. Once you get those specifics down, it'll enable you to answer the question, okay, what capacity do my money partners need to have for me to get to my 1-year goals? If you've gotten a track record together and you know how to do a couple of flips and you want to scale up and do, like, my goal this year, I want to do 15 flips. So I've already reached deep into my network to get the money network in place that's going to enable me to do my 15 flips that I'm set up to do. And for you guys, if you want to do 2 flips, that's great. That's a great place to start. What kind of money do you need to get those 2 flips done? So once you have the goals in place, it'll enable you to know where you need to reach and of what capacity they need to be. Okay, so that's number 1. That's your goals you need to have for your business plan. Number 2, everybody brings something to the table. I talk to some folks who are like, well, I don't have any money, and it's okay. I don't have this, I don't have that. Well, you know what? Flip the conversation upside down. What do you have? What can you bring to the table for your flip business? Do you have time? Well, time is the one limited resource in the world, by the way. There's plenty of money, there's plenty of everything, there's plenty of deals. The one thing that there's only so much of in the world is time. And so if you have a lot of time, that's an asset. You have time that you can bring to the table to put forth, to run around, to find deals, to go and check on contractors, to go check job sites and stuff like that. So present that. present that you have time. If you have some cash, take inventory of it. Whether that's through retirement, whether that's through cash in your own pocket, whether that's through cash you have in bank accounts or whatever it is, take inventory of what cash you have that you could bring to the table. If your credit is not the best, then what can you do to repair it? How quickly can you repair it? How quickly can you get it back up? Because some hard money lenders and most hard money lenders and definitely every bank and maybe even some private investors may want to run your credit. So if your credit's not the best, then fix it. And if you don't know what it is, then find out what it is. And there's free sources on that. So the next thing is skills. Everybody is great at something. So find out what you're great at. If you are like great hands-on at construction or great at being like, just knowing the ins and outs of construction, that's a huge, huge, huge plus to fix and flips. That you know the ins and outs of construction. If you know real estate really well, if you know marketing really well, if you know how to sell, if you know how to manage things, if you know how to run logistics on a project or something like that, if you know how to run day to day and just manage people, those are all great things that you can bring to the table of a fix and flip, right? So document those. Document what you're great at. There's even some assessment tools out there that you guys can take to determine your greatness. And that. So, and then passion, why are you doing this? What is your why to your real estate business? Don't be afraid to tell people on why you want to do fix and flips, why you want to invest in real estate. And your why better not be just to make money, because there's something beyond the money. But trust me, for someone who's been around for a little while, there's got to be larger than making money, the why on why you want to invest in real estate. So get really connected to the why on why you're doing this as a real estate investor. So then, I hate to say this for some of you folks that haven't done a deal ever. I think that it's my personal opinion. There's other folks that may differ with me, but I think that it's going to be very hard for you to go present yourself to any type of money partner if you've never done any type of real estate transaction ever before, and this is your very, very first time in doing a real estate deal and you want folks to lend you money. I think that you should either find a way to invest with your own money into the deal, or find a way to work in the industry. And I know people hate the JOB word. It's like the 3-letter word that everybody hates to see. But find a way to work in this industry. And that could be working as a realtor, get your license and work a few transactions and get some exposure. But I think that there's simple lessons you will learn in getting exposure in this industry. Before you go present yourself to some money partners, because you got to show that you've done something in this business. And that could even just be an agent on some fix and flips. Could be working as a wholesaler. A lot of folks I know that are just getting going in real estate investing, work as a wholesaler and do some wholesaling deals and help assemble some stuff and get exposure to the business and that, or find yourself an established investor, perhaps through your local real estate club or like on through the BiggerPockets networks. Find somebody in your local network that is an established investor and offer to do some running around for them, offer to help them assemble some deals and that. And then you can, when you start pitching your own deals, you can say you've had exposure. Hey, I worked on that fix and flip over there. Yeah, it might not have been your deal, but you had exposure to it. You worked on it. You had your hands in it in some form or fashion. So if you don't have a track record, go out there and get yourself a track record. If you do have a track record, document it. Put down the exposure you have and assemble all these things for your business plan, and put your goals down, your personal inventory, all those different things that we talked about before, your track record. And then on top of that, in your business plan, put down just a market study. So I want to invest in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and this is why Albuquerque, and this is what Albuquerque looks like. This is the price points. These are the highs and lows. The low sell prices for the bank-owned REO stuff, and this is what the ARV is, and then there's something called a money map that I talk about a lot with folks that that are just coming into the business. And a money map is, and even for my investors, a money map is real simple. It could be a diagram, it could be just a conversation, or it could be a description, but a money map describes how your private money partner's money is entering the deal, meaning, okay, it comes in at closing, it's going to earn this much an interest rate, and then it's going to sell, and the property's going to sell, and you're going to get this much back. And it just describes in fine point detail when their money comes in, what it earns, and when it comes out, and what the ins and outs of the money is going to be. So it's a very clear description the flow of their money through the deal and about how long it's going to take them to get out and what they're going to earn through it, right? So once you put all that together, your goals, your personal inventory, your track record, your market study on the market you want to be in, and then your money map on how the money's going to flow in and out, you can assemble this into a nice shiny business plan for yourself, and then you're ready to get out there and start pitching yourself and what you do to other folks. So it's not what you know, it's who you know. So take that business plan and not only present it to your money partners in your network, present it to realtors, wholesalers, banks. Find yourself some contractors to have in your network, because any money partner is going to say, well, who's going to do the work? And unless you're planning on doing it your own personal self, you should have a few contractors in your back pocket that are ready to jump in and do the work once you've got the deal funded, right? If you're going to do the BRRRR strategy, you're not planning on managing yourself, then you want to have some property managers lined up that are in your marketplace. And everybody should have an attorney and a CPA. Attorneys draw up the legal documents that defend your private money partner and you on these deals. In some states, that is a mortgage and a note. In other states, it's a deed of trust, and other types of documents are used to defend private lenders and to defend you, the borrower. So have an attorney in place that can draft up those documents. Don't do this back of the napkin stuff, or just go on Google and find something on Google that you pay $100 for. Bite the bullet and pay an attorney, and make sure they do it for you in Microsoft Word so that you can adjust that document every time you bring in a deal. But hire an attorney to look at those documents and to use to assemble these things for you. And have yourself a CPA that can help you structure as you grow and start doing more and more deals. My CPA has been amazing in helping me structure my stuff as I've gotten more complicated as I go along, right? So how BiggerPockets can help. BP is an awesome resource to folks assembling deals and to connect people, and for everything. So for even helping you assemble that business plan, for helping you make contacts and get a track record, BP has so many great resources that it can help you get your legs underneath you and get yourself up and running on doing fix and flips with other people's money. So for those of you that want to buy a pro membership and that are not pro, you got to go pro, because pro has so many great resources. Use the coupon code OPM, and I believe that's valid for the next 2 days. If I'm wrong on that, my folks at BP can correct me in the notes here. But you will get 20% off of the pro membership if you use the coupon code OPM. That is a stellar deal. The pro membership is drastically underpriced for BP. It's such a great value for what you get for it. It's worth like 10 times what BP charges you for it. You do one deal off of somebody you meet through your pro membership, or a deal just through the resources that pro membership offers, and you paid for it for probably 10 years off of one deal. So it just makes so much sense to have a pro membership for BiggerPockets. So number one, I talked about building your network. And I also talked about building a track record. 2 ways you can do that through BP is using the BiggerPockets database to search members and locate other local people near you. Find someone who's done a bunch of deals. If you're just getting started, find yourself either this kind of appraiser here, or my friend Steve, or other folks that have in your local network that you can use to build your network, or that you can connect with as local investors. For those of you just getting started, find the local investor that has a solid track record of deals and say, hey, listen, I'm willing to come and work for you for free. Just let me be your gopher, your runaround, give me some exposure to your projects. And I just want to be able to say that I've worked with you. If you're happy, maybe you can write me a letter of reference or something like that. And then you can build up that track record of exposure to deals, so that when you start pitching yourself to other money partners, you have exposure, but through working on other projects. BP has awesome calculators you guys can use. There's the rental property calculator, and then there's a fix and flip calculator you can use. The fix and flip calculator is awesome. Like I said, it's time is the killer, so you can use the fix and flip calculator to see your how your profit changes if you've done it. If your timeline changes from 30 days to 90 days to 270 days, God forbid your timeline goes out that far. But it could, and you should run the numbers to see how much it changes if your deal starts to slip on time, right? Then if you're a pro, which you guys should be, you can print those reports and then send them off to other people, take them to your banks. If you are walking into a bank or even a private money partner or whatever, you should have a solid presentation of the deal that they're going to be lending to you on. And this flip calculator that BP has is awesome. And it's perfect for doing that, for just doing a one-page summary of your deal. It just shows the money going in, the money coming out, all your constructions laid out there. You can use that when you're sitting down with a money partner to say, hey, listen, here's my deal. It's on paper. Everything's here. They can ask questions. You can go back and forth. You can go back in and tweak it if you want to, and it's available to print for pro members and that. So it's just such a great resource, just one of the many things that BP has available. So then you've got marketplaces. If you guys are looking for deals, or if you're looking to sell a property, perhaps a turnkey, or perhaps something that's a wholesale. If you guys are getting started in wholesaling, you can use the marketplace. You can surf the marketplace if you're looking for deals. You've got folks with money that are willing to get behind you, but you don't have deals to put them into yet. Jump into the marketplace and find some opportunities. What's great about the marketplace is it's investors that have deals that have been vetted that are trying to present them to other investors versus the MLS, which is like the shotgun approach, which just everybody and the mom is looking on the MLS. But on the BP marketplace, it's a little bit of an insider deal because these deals might not be MLS, might be off the market, and that. So the BP marketplace is a great place to search. The BP also has a hard money lender directory, which is just great because these folks have raised their hand to be available to folks that are BP members that want to get hard money, that want to look for looking for hard money and whatnot. So you can perhaps look for commentary on how these folks have been in forums. You can get into chats on like, hey, how is ABC company as a hard money lender, and you can perhaps connect with people that have worked with them in the past through the BP network too. So now, again, BP Pro membership, again, it's $290 a year, which again is such a great deal. You can use that coupon code OPM to register for that, to get 20% off of that for the next couple of days. If you guys aren't members, as soon as we're done this webinar, jump on and pay that $290 minus 20% for a full year's membership. It's a great way, even if you're just getting going. If you're looking to get going in the next 12 months and do a deal, it's great for everything. And it's great for showing that track record and that street cred for yourself, that if you meet somebody on BP, they see that you're willing to make that investment in yourself as an investor, and they see that little pro tag next to your name. So use the coupon code OPM for 20% off on that. So thank you. I'm going to jump in and do some Q&A. I thought that was going to take me 30 minutes, and it's 34 minutes. I'm very impressed with myself that I got through and hopefully didn't talk too much. But I'll stick around if you guys want to do some questions. Let me see if I can jump in here, and I'm going to stop sharing. I think that's what I'll do. I'll stop screen sharing, and then we can, but I can keep talking, I believe. So, all right. So fire away some questions. Where can you find the hard money directory? That's a great question. I'm hoping that my folks at BP can drop in a link on that if you guys don't mind. So, what do you guys think? Anybody got any other questions you want to talk about? Talk about hard money lenders. Talk about experiences you guys have had. Anything I didn't cover here? There's a link to the hard money directory. Awesome. Thank you. I'll scroll through real quick, see if anybody had any questions. You're welcome, Chris. Thanks for joining me. What kind of terms am I seeing for hard money lenders? Okay, I'll jump on that. So the most common is in the low teens, like somewhere between, like I've heard sub 12, but typically it's somewhere between 10 and 11%. Or no, not 10, around 12% is what I've heard. I've heard sub 12 for some hard money lenders, but their fees are typically a little higher. So 12 plus 2 to 4% is what I've heard. I've also heard like higher, and that's with equity in. That's with you guys laying in somewhere between 30 to say like 20 to 30% of the purchase price of the property plus maybe 10% of construction. If you want to lay down, less, I've heard of one guy that'll do upwards of 15% interest plus 4 points, but that's really heavy. They'll do 90% of the entire cost of the project, but that's just expensive, I think. But um, yes, I would do my own cash, Matt. Absolutely, because your rate of return on that cash is going to be way better. I'd rather see that 12% come back to you than I would go into a private money lender. And I think it'll go really far with anybody you present yourself to in the future that you're willing to put your own skin into the game. So if you have your own cash, use it on your first deal. Self-directed IRA, sure. Okay, so Danielle, just to be clear, when I talk about investing with IRAs, there are ways to invest with your own IRA into deals. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about somebody like, let's just say your Uncle Harry has an IRA, or your friend from college has an IRA, and they're sick of the ups and downs of Wall Street, or they're tired of not sure what their portfolio is going to do next week. The self-directed IRA is a means for them to be the bank for your project. So let's say your cousin has 150K sitting in a retirement account, and they want to invest it in someplace different. So what they would do is they would approach a IRA custodian. And there's many out there. There's, I think, just to name a few, Equity Trust, Pensco, Kama. Just Google IRA custodians, and there's a bunch that you can find in that. So they would roll that IRA to the IRA custodian. They're all about the same, so it doesn't really matter who that person is. It matters more who they invest the money with. So then they would approach you, and they would be the bank. And so you would pay them interest on the loan, and that would go back into their IRA account versus them putting it into a mutual fund or whatever. So Carlos, I don't think there's going to be a crash. Sorry. I think that the stock market's going to crash before the real estate market does. The real estate market's just now, prices are just up to where they were before the 2007 dip, but I don't think that was I don't think that that's an indicator that it's going to crash again. I just think we lost a bunch of growth in the last 10 years. It's been like the lost decade of the last 10 years in real estate value. But I don't think that we're going to have I don't think the bottom's going to fall out anytime soon. That's just me, though. I'm sure other folks would debate me on that one, but nobody really knows. I don't have a crystal ball, but I don't think that the real estate market's going to crash anytime soon. Hi, Matt. Can you talk about how to borrow money from a bank using a proposed? Yeah. So David, what they're going to do, what a bank is especially going to do, is they're going to bring in an appraiser, and the appraiser is going to do two appraisals. They're going to do an appraisal of the property and the condition that it's in. And then they're going to do a after repair value appraisal where you're going to write up your scope of work and say, okay, Mr. Appraiser, I'm going to go and replace this kitchen, and I'm going to go and replace this bathroom. And if you really have your act together, you're going to show them your finishes and say, I'm going to put in this tile and this level of appliance and everything like that. And you're going to show them all those things. And then they're going to value the property as if it were already completed. So there'll be two appraisals. So that's called the ARV. They will do an appraisal. A bank will do that, and more sophisticated hard money lenders will do that too. You should do that on your flips, obviously. And if you're just dealing with a private partner that we had talked about, you're going to go ahead and show them those comps to say, okay, I'm going to turn this property into a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and it's going to be comparable to this property that's just a few blocks away that sold a few months ago. Here's my comp. 280K, that's what I'm going to try and sell it for. And you show them, you prove to them that you can get that, and prove to yourself too. So, my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law has cash on her hand. Well, if that's like greenback cash, you probably should deposit in a bank before she lends it to you. But It doesn't. Yeah, yes, it should come from a bank account. You should draw up loan docs. Just because you got family members that trust you so implicitly that they're willing to just write you a check doesn't mean you shouldn't treat them as if there's somebody off the street that's coming to lend you money. So I strongly recommend that you guys are in the practice of loan documents and mortgages and notes and stuff like that. Even if this is like your immediate family, like immediate family that are loaning money to you, even though they might not require it, it's good to be in the practice of doing full documentation and treating them as if they were just somebody that's not an immediate family member, because it's just a good habit to be in and that. So, what options for finding your project without a tax return to show more income? Oh, Peter, you're for funding your project without a tax return. Well, okay, some hard money lenders aren't going to require tax returns. You're probably going to pay more interest if you're not willing to show your tax returns, if your tax returns aren't very favorable. So bear that in mind. And when I first got started, I used all, like mostly hard money lenders and paid a lot of interest and stuff like that in the beginning before I had my track record. So just bear that in mind, that if you don't have a solid tax return, you may have to pay, 13-14%. So 20% coupon for OPM. Thank you. Does it help the access to the MLS for finding deals? Yeah, I think so, Jeff. Here's my opinion of the MLS. I see a ton of deals go down on the MLS. The problem is that MLS deals just don't stick around for very long if they're good deals. So to your question about finding good deals in the MLS, I don't discount the MLS as a place to go. I'm saying you guys should still be surfing the MLS, and if you want to be hardcore about it, you should be on there every day, because good deals are not going to stick around. It's a very competitive marketplace right now, in that. So I think that it's a competitive marketplace for buying good property. So I think that you guys should be surfing the MLS daily, and if you want to get aggressive, make a lot of offers. So I don't discount the MLS as a source. I just think that you can't rely specifically on it. So. Um, I don't do mentorship right now, Scott. I unfortunately I'm too busy these days to do mentoring. But thank you for asking. I'm always open to a question or so on BP. If my folks at BP can post my profile out there, you guys can check me out. And colleague request me, and I'm happy to answer a question or so on there. But right now I don't do mentoring services. I wish I had more time to do that. If I could clone myself, I would. I'd love to. We found new homes that give us 7% ROI and rental income. Bank wants to charge 5 to 6 on loan against property we already own. How would you work this deal? So that's a really tight deal, Nadim. I mean, for ROI, I assume you're talking about cash on cash return. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do a deal that didn't have a double digit cash on cash return after debt service. No way, no how, because there's other deals out there you could do. If you're talking about a 7% cap rate, now maybe you got a conversation. But 5 to 6% interest rate on a bank loan seems a little on the high side. Do both private investors and hard money lenders take only? Absolutely. Well, that's up to you, Russ. I mean, it's not up to you, but I think that it's you as a smart investor to give them that, and just with integrity to give them a lien on the property. Again, like I said before, if it's family member, they might not ask for a lien on the property. It might not. It might say, "Oh no, you know what, Russ, I trust you. Here you go." But I just think to protect them, and just, you never know and stuff like that, especially if it's family. Like I said, I mean, family stuff can get ugly sometimes. So I would definitely give my a lien every time that they loan you money, just to protect them. And hard money lenders absolutely all the time, 8 days a week, will ask you for a lien on the property. But a private investor might not if they're a family member or something like that. So. Let me drop another question out there. So let me tell you guys about something real quick. There's something called the Rule of 72. I don't know if you guys have heard about it, but the Rule of 72 is something you want to explain to anybody that approaches you that has an IRA. And again, like I said in the presentation, I skimmed over it briefly. But if you've got a friend that has a retirement account and it's not with a company they're with right now, perhaps they changed jobs or something like that, right? Explain to them the Rule of 72, and Einstein came up with this. Okay. The Rule of 72 says this, that if I have a loan with someone and the interest compounds, and compounded interest means this, it means that I can take the interest that you're paying me, and on a future loan, I can put that interest back into a loan. So if I go to my new friend Russ here on the webinar, and I say, okay, Russ, you're going to loan me $100,000, and in 6 months I'm going to pay you back 106 with 6% interest on your loan, right? Russ can then take that $106,000 and put it back into the next deal that I have, right? And any self-directed IRA owner will be able to do the same thing without paying any income tax on that 6% because it's tax deferred, right? If it's Russ's straight cash, not his self-directed IRA account, he's going to have to pay income tax on that because it's taxable. It's gain on it's an interest gain, so it's taxable. But if it's a self-directed IRA, it's not. It's tax deferred. So Russ can take that $106,000 and he can loan it into my next deal. So that is called compounding interest. And if you compound interest annually, meaning every year, Russ and I do that same transaction. And I pay him the interest yearly, and it's if it's a 10% interest and he loans me $100K, I would give him back 110 because it's 10% interest, right? If I take that interest rate of 10% and I divide that into the number 72, right? You can picture the math in your head. That is how long the number you come up with is how long it will take Russ's money to double. Okay. His money will double in 7.2 years if he loans the money in that fashion. So if you have someone in your network that has $100,000 in an IRA account, and you're willing to pay 10% on their money, they can double their money in 7.2 years just by working with you as a real estate investor. How awesome is that? Show me one financial planner that would make that kind of a commitment to someone. But you could approach anyone that has that IRA account, saying, listen, I can double your money in X amount of time if you and I work on a strategy together and I go out and find deals and you keep the money available for me. You show them how the Rule of 72 works. Just Google the Rule of 72 and there'll be more on it. But again, compounded interest is amazing stuff. So that's that. But that's something I show to most of my private money folks. Mai asked, as a flipper, do we need to create our own disclosures or contracts for anything like contracts, hard money lenders, private monies? If so, how do we find, where do we start to create one? So again, like I said, you got to have an attorney. That you absolutely should. So yes, you should have a contract with an attorney, with a contractor's. Like, don't let your contractor roll in with their own contract. Make them sign a contract that you came up with. Hard money lenders are absolutely going to roll in with their own contract. They're going to have their own documents. You could have attorney review them, but they're going to make you sign their own stuff. And for private money partners, you want to have them sign contracts too. So yeah, hire an attorney, give them a couple $100, give them a couple hours of their time, and have them draw up that paperwork for you. So you're gonna have to pay an attorney to do it. So, Celeste, that's okay. So if you have your own IRA and you have someone in your network that you like and trust, and you want to lend them money for their deals, you could play the same thing, the same game. So if you have an IRA, you could be a lender on somebody else's deal, and you could take advantage of the Rule of 72 as well. So I have a personal IRA from back when I used to have a day job. I have my IRA that's invested in real estate too, and I leverage the Rule of 72 for my IRA as well. So, Austin, I'd love to talk to you about wholesaling, but I'm not a wholesaler. I've only done like one wholesale deal in my 11 years of being in business. So I'm probably not the guy to talk to, but I do think wholesaling is a good place to start for investing. So, Nadim wants to know, as a beginner, where's the best place to start? Yes, inexpensive burr, condos, flip, distress homes. So, Nadim, if you are single and you're not married, a house hack is the best place to start if you have some cash. So I highly recommend house hacking in small multi, like 2, 3, 4 units somewhere in there is a great place to start. Flip's a good place to start too if you got some cash. Again, if you have money, all those things are great places to start. If you don't have any money, then do a few wholesales to create some cash to start doing your own hold deals with. So. How much of the bids do you auction properties? CMA has to be done. Yeah, auctions are tough, Marcia. I wouldn't recommend getting into auctions unless you've done at least a couple of years worth of deals. And I would try and do as much drive-by and analysis of the property before you go in. I'm not a fan of auctions in general, although sometimes I do them. I'll do online auctions where they have a option to go do walkthroughs, and that. But yeah, you got to do your homework before auctions, and auctions my advice on auctions is keep your emotions out of them. So, yes, Celeste, you cannot fund your own deals with an IRA. So you can't take an IRA and invest it with yourself. I should talk about this briefly. You can't take an IRA and lend the money to yourself personally as a fix and flipper. You also can't borrow money from your parents out of an IRA. Okay. You also can't borrow money from your children through their IRA. Okay. Meaning if you can picture like a family tree, they can't be directly above you or directly below you in a family tree, but you can borrow money from your siblings in an IRA. I'm not sure why that is. Perhaps something you have to do with inheritance laws or something like that. But you can't loan money into your own IRAs, into your own projects. But you can invest in other people's IRAs or other people's projects. So, yeah, you can use credit cards. There's actually cheaper credit cards out there that you can use. There's even 0% cards. If you guys want to get really scrappy, you can go out there and find 0% interest cards that are 0% for the first 18 months. If you have to use that to get going, just be careful because they can be weapons of mass destruction. They can just completely wreck your credit if you don't respect them. So it's possible. But yeah, and if you have the credit to get a credit card, consider getting a business equity line of credit from a bank as opposed to a credit card because you might be able to get a lower interest rate. So get just a business line, probably pay somewhere between 5 and 6%. So. What is house hacking, Emily? House hacking is where you probably need to listen to more podcasts because Brandon Turner loves to talk about house hacking. I think he might have coined the phrase. House hacking is where you live in the rental property that you are renting out. So my first property that I owned was a house hack where I lived. It was a 3-bedroom, 1 bath. I lived in 1 bedroom and I rented out the other 2 bedrooms to a couple of friends of mine. So you could also buy a duplex, a triplex, or a 4-family, and you could take advantage of low interest rate financing. So like 3 to 5% down, and live in a duplex and live in 1 unit, rent out the other unit. And if not live there for free, live there at a very, very reduced interest expense. And at some point in the future, move out. So that's what a house hack is. And Marsha, I just said house hacking is a great solution because you get that low money down, like 3 to 5%. And another reason why house hacking is awesome is your interest rate's locked for 30 years. And it's hard to find commercial mortgages for properties for long-term holds where the rate's locked for 30 years if you're holding the property in LLC. So, Gene, you can use an inherited IRA to loan into other people's deals, but not in yours. Again, once the IRA becomes inherited, it's yours. That's so if your parent's deceased, then it becomes your money. Then in essence, it's your IRA. It becomes your property, so you still can't lend it into your deals, but you can lend it into somebody else's deals. My area has virtually no small multifamilies, and house hacking is not an option for me. Married with kids, yeah, I get it. I'm married with kids, and there's no way my wife would want to go live in a house hack right now. So I get it. Would SFRs be the place for me to start? Yeah, I would say so. Just be careful with holding that property in your own personal name, because you just you don't want to grow that way. You could do like a 3% down or a 5% down on your very first SFR, but I would just bite the bullet and form an LLC and lay 20 to 25% down. So. Why single for a house hack? Oh, just because it may be hard to enroll your spouse in that. And if you're single, the easiest point of entry is into a single family home. Just a single family home as a house hack. That's what I did. I mean, if you're young and single, then buying a 3-bedroom 2-bath and living in 1 bedroom is very possible for you, and renting out a couple of bedrooms to friends of yours or something like that is like the lowest common denominator point of entry into this business. That's what I did. Maybe that's why. But if you're married, and if you can enroll your spouse into living in like one of the nicer units of a 4-family or something like that, then maybe that's possible too. So you're welcome, Gene. If you lend from your own IRA to an LLC that you own, will that work? It's possible, but I would be careful with that, because if you get shown that you're in violation, then you got to immediately pay the 10% penalty. It's a 10% penalty of the loan if the IRS finds out you're doing it. So I would talk to a CPA and everything like that. Before you go and lend money to an LLC that you control. So. LLCs for rehabbers, even the first one. Oh, absolutely. I would LLC every rehab you do, because you're not going to get, it's not like you're avoiding getting the really, really cheap money that people can get by holding property or their own personal name. So for rehabbers, man, there's just too many things that could become a liability claim. Like homeowner could come back and sue you because they're not happy with the house. You could have a slip and fall, or you could have a contractor fall down the steps, or God forbid, all kinds of bad things could happen, Matt. So absolutely do an LLC on your fix and flips, and every fix and flip you do. So Celeste, this odds are for an LLC, you're going to have to get commercial money, and that's going to be like a 75 to 80% mortgage versus like a individual mortgage you might get that's like 95 to 97%. So I got to scroll down here. So. Look at you guys striking deals with each other here. I love it. If you inherit an IRA, you can use it to purchase property, but you can't personally do anything, work with it. Thank you, Trent. So what Trent's referring to is I alluded to this, but I wasn't clear on this. You guys can take the IRA, and then you can operate property strictly inside the IRA with it. So you can buy fix and flips, you can buy rentals, you can buy all kinds of stuff in the IRA, but you can't take that IRA money and put it into deals that you are personally benefiting from. So there can be only one beneficiary, either the IRA or you personally. Okay. So that's, but Trent's absolutely right. I mean, I know people that flip a lot of property in their IRA, and it makes sense because IRA is all tax deferred. So you don't have to pay that income tax on that comes back, like that capital gains tax that comes back. So, oh, look at you, Elizabeth, getting complicated with the S corp. So I actually use S corps for my fix and flips, but S corps really, really benefit if you start paying salaries, because an S corp allows you to have your earned income separate from your business income. So I did I don't know if it might be a little late in the game here, but I did an article for BiggerPockets with my CPA on the benefits of an S corp. So I don't know if my man Zachary's still watching, or if it's possible to post it out there. But if you want to search BP on S corps and the benefit of doing them through flips, S corps are phenomenal vehicles for doing fix and flips with, because you can pay yourself in earned income, which is subject to self-employment tax, and then you can, on top of that, take business income, which is pretty much equivalent to passive income. So you can segregate out part of your capital gain through earned income. Okay, so. I've never done Airbnb. I'd love to, but I haven't yet. You're welcome, Matt. I don't do it as separate LLC. I have done it. I see some people do separate LLCs for each flip. For bigger flips, I do it. I think I just did a blog on individual LLC for each deal for BP a couple weeks ago. I shot a video for that. You guys should check that out too. But there are benefits for separate LLCs per deal. For bigger projects, I've done separate LLCs per. For smaller deals, I'll just run it through my S Corp, which is the DeRosa Group. So one last time, guys, be sure, if you guys aren't pro members, be sure you use the coupon code OPM to purchase a pro membership, because it's such a great benefit to have, and it's 20% off. So, and it's like the next 2 days, I think the 20% there is good for it. So what was Dennis's question? Let me answer Dennis's question, and then we'll wrap it up. To House Hack, can you transfer your license mailing address, but leave the unit vacant while you work on it? Keep a small multi for 1 year, but never take residency. You could. I mean, you could buy it and then and say that it's going to be your primary residence, and then just never get around to moving in there. Again, there's clauses in the mortgages and stuff like that are there that say that it's got to be your residence. I would rather see you move into it fairly soon after closing, like 30 to 60 days while you renovate or something like that. It's okay to not move in. But move in eventually and then move out later, and then say that, I did live there, but be able to prove that you did have residency in the property for a period of time. But the whole thing is very gray around how long you have to live there and everything like that. So it's a possibility. I would just read your mortgage and read the fine prints in your mortgage to make sure that it's not defined for a specific period of time you have to live in the property, Dennis. Cool. All right. Well, I think that we've got most of them. You're welcome, guys. You guys are phenomenal. Thank you so much. Again, this is my first webinar, and you guys have been an awesome audience. I really, really appreciate you guys joining me. Be sure to use that coupon code OPM for picking up a pro membership, and I sure appreciate all the questions and all the time you guys have spent with me here. So have a great weekend, guys, and and you can watch this for the next, it will send a replay link, and you guys can watch this, I think, for the next couple of days. So thanks, guys. I love you guys deeply. So consider watching BP for all my for my next Facebook Live video, which I'll probably do in the next week or two. And I'll probably be doing this webinar again soon. I hope to be doing this, probably the same conversation again, or maybe something else on apartment buildings, or another one on fix and flips. So have an awesome weekend, guys. See ya.